Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome back to Robot Butt Recommends with me, Tim. So this week I was doing a little bit of a theme and getting into some studio comedies that kind of follow this weird subgenre that has come along with comedies in recent years of civilians in danger, where a couple finds themselves in some high stakes crime and they bungle their way through it. So we talked about The Lovebirds on Tuesday, and for today I wanted to point out one of, in my opinion, the more ambitious and impressive studio comedies to come out in recent years, and that is Game Night. It stars Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams, and it is, I think, one of the more noteworthy comedies of recent years because of how specific it kind of is. It is parodying a David Fincher film, The Game, that is over 20 years old when Game Night releases, and one that most people probably don't really have that much familiarity with. It's The Game is about a rich man whose brother sets up this very immersive, crime murder mystery, and the movie plays with how much of it is real, how much of it isn't. Game Night does a similar thing, but on its face, it is kind of a bizarre thing to parody in 2018 when this movie came out. But I think that almost works as a joke in and of itself. I think it's inspired. I love it. I've said before, I'm a big David Fincher fan, so the fact that this movie actually, the directors take the time to actually direct, which doesn't always happen in studio comedies, and direct with kind of an eye towards mimicking, even very superficially, David Fincher's style, to me, puts it in a different league compared to a lot of other comedies that come out these days. All that aside, because that is fantastic, and I love that it takes its time and effort to be this kind of weird niche parody. Even that aside, it still works really well as just a joke delivery system. There's a lot of good physical comedy and gags throughout. The cast is very game. Jason Bateman, it may be the 10,000th variation he's done of the put upon everyman, but few people do it as well as he does at this point. So he gets the most of it. Rachel McAdams is delightful. The supporting cast gives it their all, and it has the plot is fun even aside from the jokes, because The Lovebirds, it really is more about the chemistry and the jokes. The plot really isn't anything super crazy. With Game Night, partially because it's at least loosely parodying another movie, there is more of an actual plot structure. Bateman and McAdams, their characters are super competitive trivia and game nerds, and in order to boost Bateman's confidence, because the doctor tells him that might be interfering with their ability to conceive, he decides that he needs to beat his older brother at a game, so they invite the older brother to their game group for a game night. He ends up kind of hijacking it by having them do this all-immersive murder mystery, and then it turns out that there's more going on than just the fake murder mystery, and so the plot kind of spirals into that, as there is an actual murder and crime that's taking place, but the characters, for a good portion, all think it's just part of the game. So the movie gets a lot of mileage out of that dramatic irony. The writing is pretty sharp. The line delivery is great. And again, the directing is on point, which, a lot of comedies, especially post-2000s, it's a lot of just get people together, keep the camera rolling, let them improv, and then you just kind of patch everything together with what's the funniest take. There isn't always a lot of that, directorial pizzazz to make things look and pop in the way we see in dramas and even action movies and stuff like that. But this Game Night does do a lot of that, so it's really funny, and it's clear the kind of effort that went into getting it to look a certain way and not just be a bunch of funny people riffing off one another. So I think it's highly recommendable. It's definitely worth renting and checking out. It used to be on HBO streaming. That's how I watched it, but I believe that has since been taken down. So you will have to settle for renting off demand or illegally stealing it, although I cannot condone that legally. But check it out. Like I said, it's kind of a fun companion piece to the Lovebirds because they take they both take a very similar concept, but run in very different directions with it, while both being very enjoyable and very funny. So we got the weekend coming up. If you haven't had a chance to watch The Lovebirds yet, you can make a double feature of it this weekend. Lovebirds and Game Night. Watch some regular couples get it over their heads with murders and crime, because that's something that all couples can relate to. So that's the official recommendation. I also want to remind everyone, again, we have a new episode of Franchise Strikes Back that dropped this week where we talk about the Mad Max series. So you can always go and download that, see what you think. You can follow us on Apple Podcast and Spotify, or subscribe, whatever they refer to it on the different podcast apps. And you can get some additional content to tide you over that way as well, because things still be crazy. So make sure that you guys are still staying safe so we can get through this together to better days when hopefully Trump is not in charge of anything. So yes, Game Night. Check it out, and we will be back next week with more